All right, the next items I'll be shipping today both have to do with spring and getting your equipment ready to take care of your lawn care. This happens to be a new old stock pair of unused open box mower blades made by Murray. They were over in our garden shed, and we no longer have this mower, so we'll be putting these up for sale. And then the next item is a new string head trimmer for a weed whacker. Because you got to keep in mind that seasonal items, just like Christmas items, as spring rolls around, you should have your items up so when people's attention turn to getting their equipment ready, your listings are there to be found. And this one is a bit of a challenge as well, simply because the equipment is 22 inches long, the blades, so the box is going to be a little longer. And I don't normally ship just in the box. If this box were strong enough, since you can see that it has some shelf wear and some distressing, let me blow that up. If when I pack this and put a little filler inside this box, it feels strong enough, I could simply put this in a couple of bubble mailers to get the length I needed, go ahead and ship it that way. So I'll let you know how this turns out. Now here's the challenge with an item like this. The box alone, as it sits, is 22 inches. The post office has what they call surcharges. So even if I were to slip this in just a poly mailer, chances are I could not keep that length under 22 inches. So if I go with the post office, I'm going to have to ship this and pay a surcharge, just because it's going to end up about 22 and a half inches minimum. Now, these are new blades, but there's a lot of them on the market. These happen to be an older set of Murrays. The blades themselves are about 21 and a half inches because together they make a cut for 42 inches on a riding mower. So that'll give me a little bit of extra space to pad the ends so they don't pop out through the box, because that's one of the challenges when sending things like knives, mower blades, anything with a sharp edge. You got to make sure when the package arrives the product is still in there and hasn't sliced out through the sides. So we'll start that process by putting a little foam or a little crumple paper, what I call crumple paper, in the ends to fill that box and keep that box rigid. Then we'll take a look at what it's going to take to protect the box, even though you can see it already has some creasing and wear, and that was disclosed in the listing. Now this is what I call crumple paper. Typically it's brown. It's a little bit heavier than here's some newsprint type paper. I like to use it to wrap and as void fill. In this case, I'm going to fold it so that it also keeps the two blades apart, because that way maybe they'll make a little less noise as they're traveling, rattling around in the container. So I'll fold this up, trim it, fold it over, and get it taped up and in the box. Now for this next step, there are a couple ways we could do this. We could just take a couple of bubble mailers and put one in from each end, tape them up and fold over some of the surplus. But it wouldn't hardly give us room to stick a 4x6 label on. And also you're paying good money for these bubble mailers. And in the case of this box, any extra protection needed. So what I think we'll do in this case is take a piece of sheet cardboard, wrap it around the item, and then go ahead and send it. The cardboard's free because it's discard, and it'll, if anything, give a little more protection and stiffen this pack. What we'll do is we'll take a big piece of scrap sheet cardboard. We'll position it so that we've got enough to fold up and close the ends, and we'll come over here. We'll make ourselves a mark again to ensure we can fold the ends, and we'll slit this cardboard, and then we'll roll it around and slip it after we see how much we need. So now we've cut down the cardboard, and if you'll notice, we did that simply by wrapping this around and then slicing off the excess. And if you're going to sell big items like blades, you've got to have your plan together before you list the item as to how you're going to ship it. If you're going to ship a golf club, maybe go to the golf course near you and ask the pro shop for a couple of boxes. That way you've got them on hand, so when the item sells, you've got your plan in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tape around it to hold this together, and then we're going to slice the corners at both ends, and we're going to go ahead and fold the tabs. All right, so you can see how we've put wraps around the box, help hold it together, provide it some strength. Here was the seam, the cut edge, so we put a piece of tape down that so it can't snag on a conveyor. And then the next thing we're going to do is fold these in. So what I normally do is I pick an end and make sure I've got enough to fold in the four sides and get a nice clean cover. And I'll slit with a knife from the inside out, starting just at the product. I'll go in here like this, and I'll slit from the inside out. And that way I don't risk cutting the product itself. A lot of people cut from the outside down towards the product. I prefer to put the knife on the inside, push out through the edge of the box, and slit away from the product. Okay, so you can see this in progress. And you can see at the fold over point, there's an extra flap. And what I'll do is I'll cut that piece out so it doesn't make a bump, and I'll fold this one over and tape. Okay, so we've trimmed the tabs to length. We slit from the inside out. We made our 4 tabs. We're going to put our first piece of tape over like this, running from the tape to the tape. Now we'll run some tape across in the other direction, maybe add one more piece over the end, and then we'll go around the end one more time. And if you think about it, that now has 3 layers of cardboard that it would have to punch out through, plus several layers of tape. So if you think about it, this pair of blades isn't going anywhere. If you don't get your tabs quite perfect, which happens sometimes, I just take my scissors, trim them here, check the other side. That side looks good, and then I'll run some tape this way. That way, and I go from the tape here over the tabs and connect to the tape underneath. And then sometimes if I think there's a chance of breakout, I'll run another row of tape around the box to hold those pieces that go around like this. Now let's talk about the shipping label. This is a standard 4x6 coming off a Rollo printer. And if I were to put it on this long, narrow package like this and fold it, here's an actual one where I've covered the label, and I were to fold it around the package like this, I would be bending the barcode, which means their machine readers at the post office probably couldn't scan it. And if they can't scan it and have to manually intervene, they said they're going to charge you for that service. So what I do instead is I turn the package like this and run the label around the side. And I make sure that the barcode ends up running in this direction so it can be scanned properly. And I've never been given a fee or a fine or had any postage rejected and sent back to me because of that. All right, now let's take a look at the shipping label and cost. This item weighs just over 3 pounds. Let's actually confirm that. 3 pounds, 12 ounces, so over 3, under 4. So that means we're going to pay for a 4-pound ship. Hope that didn't make you dizzy. As we expected, it turned out to be 23 inches long, and it's 3 inches on one direction. And we'll put the other one here. It's 2 inches in the other. We'll hit return. We charged the gentleman $16.79 for shipping, which of course is terrible. On the one hand, it really is quite a bit of the cost. It's about the same as the price I got for the item. On the other hand, it's going to the middle of the country, so the distance is quite large. Ground Advantage will probably be the cheapest. Let's see, $15.67. So we came in a little bit under, but of course we have to pay the final value fee on that shipping label. And one of the ways we can ship for just about exactly what we're charging is that none of the packing materials, except the tape, cost me any money. So by getting into how and where to find cheap or free shipping materials, packing materials, you can keep your costs competitive. So in this case, FedEx is more expensive. It's over $21. So even though I'm not happy with what I'm paying to ship this item, I might as well go ahead and bite the bullet, buy the label. It's processing. Let's spend some money on shipping. And you'll notice this was standard shipping selected at a flat rate cost to any buyer in the country. But I'm opting to send it Ground Advantage. Okay, I've covered the ship to address so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see how I've placed the barcode this way. I'm going to fold the label this way. I'm going to fold it so that my address and the rest of this is all running flat. And then I'm going to just tape around it to make sure it doesn't come loose from the box. And I've never had a problem with that if they can read the scan. When you start putting them on irregular packages and the machines can't read it, that generally means they get kicked for human intervention, and the post office feels justified in charging us. So you can see it's taped on now. It takes about 3 wraps to do this, and the package label ends up wrapping around a couple of sides, but I've never had a problem with this. And now this one is ready to go. The next item is a brush cutter head. Looks like this. I bought a bunch of them last year at the end of season. These were probably shelf pulls from a place like Home Depot or Lowe's, but they were all still in their packaging. Packaging was a little rough. Originally, I had a couple boxes of these. So because these don't really have part numbers, I need to confirm that this is the item, check the UPC, make sure I've grabbed the right one. Sometimes they look similar. You can see that the storage unit location for this one is LGDD. Even though this item has an interesting shape, it protrudes over here, it protrudes over here. And one of the things I like to do is protect these plastic clamshell packs so they don't arrive in any worse condition or broke open. It's especially important as I sell new old stock vintage hardware. The guys buying it, it shouldn't arrive all crushed. So what I'll do is I'll take a fistful of crumple paper and I'll put it back over here on the bottom of the box. So when I drop this in, the item will sit flat along the bottom of the box. So to pack out this item, we're going to use not bubble from a roll, but a bubble envelope. Again, I get these free for the effort of picking them up. And along with the crumple paper that comes from the same place, you'll see it's pre-crumpled. We're given this stuff by the bag, and then we sort it out, smooth it out, and reuse it. Keeps it out of the landfill, which is one of the reasons we like reselling on eBay, selling in general. The item, which was a shelf pull from a Home Depot or a Lowe's, gets reused, gets put back into the economy, and the packing materials. So this was free. This was free. This was purchased at an auction at discount. The box came with an eBay subscription. So in other words, I'm not going to be into this for packing for much. So choices for this item. This one we're probably just going to put in a box. We could put it in a 10 by 8 by 6 like this one. They come flat packed and we assemble them. And I'll probably trim down the height for the same reason to limit the amount of fill I need. A nice sturdy box, new out of eBay. Used it my subscription coupon to get them. And as I began to sell more smalls, I couldn't always rely on getting free boxes. So I began using the coupon from our stores. We have more than one store to get shipping supplies. We put the crumple paper in, and there's very little paper here, and there's a bulge of paper here to make a shelf. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to put it in this direction. You'll notice the item is inside the bubble mailer, but we have a fair amount of space here. And this is an irregular item, so we have to decide what we're going to do. Well, we're going to put some crumple paper over here, and we're going to build it level, and then we're going to trim down these flaps, these box edges, and we're going to fold them over. And by folding it over, we have a couple of options. If it happens to tip just over a pound or two, we can maybe trim a little flap and keep the weight down. Or the folded over boxes will add additional strength. Boxes that come together where the flaps just meet are never going to be as strong as something that overlaps and is taped. And that's something to think about as you're considering crush strength. So let's put a little more crumple paper in here, and then I'll show you another technique for how I know where to cut. All right, the crumple paper's in, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of scrap cardboard, and we're going to press down even like this. And we're going to want to know, I'll have to do this in a couple steps since the phone means one-handed, but this is where we can cut to. Now what I'm going to do, again, I like to cut from inside out and slit up. Again, I'm going to have to learn to do this one-handed so I can show you guys. Now we have another choice. We can either measure down from the outside and cut them all, or we can just move this piece, cutting each corner in turn. You know, as I move it around, I can slice them all using the cardboard and then make the folds. Or I can come over here and I can see my first cut and I can measure it. Okay, that looks to be 4 3/4. So I can mark all 4 corners. I can take the resizing tool and I can make a score mark right along in here. And that's the way I'll do this one. If it were a nice clean square box that was in there, I could skip the white cardboard and just use the edge of the product itself and make my folds just by going around the edge. But we'll go ahead and score this, do the other 3 slits, and fold it down. Okay, so you can see the score mark. You can see the marks I used. I did this scoring on the outside of the box. For small boxes, I don't think it really matters inside or outside. Sometimes it's just easier to do them outside. So we did the slits. We folded them in the direction of the score. So now you can see we've shortened the box by this much. And it also means we probably saved a little bit of packing material. Now, personally, I don't care for this flap right here, where the glue seam was on the box. So I'll often cut that, tear it off, and again, it lessens the weight a little bit, but what it does is it means there's not a bump when I make my fold. So now we're going to fold these in. And as I was saying, if it makes no difference to the weight, we'll overlap them, because by overlapping them, you add some strength to the box. Now you see in this direction the same way. We've overlapped them like this. The box is now stronger. And what we'll do is we'll put it on the scale and we'll see whether trimming a bit of flap makes a difference to the shipping weight. You can see that this box, as resized, weighs 1 pound 10.4 ounces. So I have absolutely no reason at all to trim the flaps. I'll leave them, they'll add some strength, and I'll be paying for a 2-pound ship anyway. So let me go ahead and get this taped up. Okay, here's the box. You can see this was the original top. We folded it over this much, which offset where the center seam is, providing some extra support against crush. I put the usual mid-seam tape here. I like to go in both directions. That way the box, some of these boxes aren't real strong to begin with, and whoever makes them for eBay doesn't always do that good of a job. I also put an extra piece of tape here where the extended flap goes to hold it down so it can't get caught in a conveyor. Since this was a new box, right from eBay, I didn't feel the need to use the colored tape for obscuring anything, and this is the way it'll go. I'll weigh it up, put the sizes in, get the final shipping cost. Okay, final sizing. Let me bring it down. Ended up being 2 pounds, under 2 actually, but 2 pounds is what you've got to put in. It was supposed to be a 10 by 8 by 6 box, but as sometimes happens, the box actual size ended up being 11 by 8 by 5. If we take a look here, I charged $9.79. This is an older listing that went up last year. Ground Advantage is the cheapest way to send it. It's going to cost me $10. So I'm out a little bit on the shipping. And the way we look at that as items age and don't sell right away and the post office increases, it's just another way to run a sale. Helps keep us competitive. I'm losing a little bit on the final value fee, and shipping, the packing virtually cost me nothing. So there we go, another item gone. And I can already see that I could probably use a few pieces of equipment like a flexible tripod to do this better so that I don't have to keep stopping and starting the camera.